Hey everyone, RogueGold here. Welcome back to the Division 2. And today, that's right, an expertise surge has returned to the game. If you don't know what that is, this is likely the most popular and lucrative material farming event that the Division 2 has on rotation. It means that any resource associated with the expertise upgrade system has double drop quantity throughout the duration of the event. So from your more basic stuff like electronics or titanium up to optimization involved material such as SHD calibration and field recon data, but then, most importantly, exotic components. All of those things are double for this event. The timing of this event is also pretty key because we are just 1 week into Year 8 Season 2, and this update made some changes and introduced some drop sources to make exotic components easier to farm than ever. I hadn't really had a chance to spotlight that yet since the season began, so I figured we'll bundle the two into one video today. We're going to go over what some of these lucrative new drop sources are across both PvP and PvE content, and if you take advantage of these in the next week while the event is running until June 30th, then you'll get double the components, double the value. There's really a lot to be gained here, and yeah, between the changes made to the game as well as this event being active, I think that makes this the best exotic component farm that we've ever seen hit the Division 2, so it's good stuff. We'll get straight to it. If you enjoy this one, you want to see future guides, news, updates on the game for myself, then be sure to subscribe. Have to give a big shout out and thank you to all of our channel members. Thank you all so much for your ongoing dedication and support to the channel, allowing me to continue making videos like these. But alright, let's get to it. So, to begin, if you are willing to risk some PvP, then the balanced Dark Zone, which this week is over in Dark Zone West, I believe is going to be the most efficient source of exotic components post Year 8 Season 2, and that is for a couple of distinct reasons that we will go over right now. The first is that this season actually introduced a brand new exotic component drop source exclusively from the PvP Dark Zones, and that is that landmark bosses in a challenging or heroic landmark have a chance to drop exotic components upon death. So you can see that we are in a heroic landmark right now. Let's take out all these ads in the boss and see if we get lucky. Okay, so if my memory is serving me correctly, I believe that challenging landmark bosses have a 33% chance to drop one, whereas heroic here would be 48%. So when we take out Shy, we will look at the loot pile, and you can see that right there, we have an exotic component waiting. And if we walk on over it and look at the bottom left, we'll see that because of the event, that becomes 2 exotic components. So if you're going to head into one of the PvP Dark Zones, then just be sure to seek out heroic or challenging difficulty landmarks in particular. These are no more difficult than hard or normal ones. They just have more respawn waves, and they should just take you a handful of minutes to complete, if that. While we are here, we can then take a look at the other important drop source within these Dark Zones, and that is Dark Zone chests. I don't know why this one has its lid open, that's just a little visual glitch, but these chests in particular, and keep in mind that it's only these ones that have a chance to drop components. If you come across a chest with yellow paint on it, then it cannot drop exotic components under any circumstances. But while these always had the chance to drop components prior to this update, again in the PvP Dark Zones specifically, they got buffed this season to have a 40% chance to drop one. So if I go and crack this open, we will see if we get lucky. Looks like not, but once again, these now have a 20-minute cooldown timer. If you're spending a good amount of time running around this entire Dark Zone, you should be able to pick them up with regular frequency. Finally, then, the reason that I recommended that you farm in the balanced Dark Zone specifically is that because any item that you deconstruct while you're in here will give you double the amount of DZ resources. So normally, this would give me 2, going straight to my contaminated pouch. Let's check how many do I have in there right now. So we have 6 before this, but instead of these 2 sending us just to 8, if I deconstruct and I look once again, oh, we're at 10, and that is not just a perk of this current expertise surge event, that is just an inherent currency yield that has been added to this Dark Zone. Okay, the last chest was not so kind to us. Let's see. You want to give us an exotic component? Ah, we just got a Dark Zone key. The point is, while you're in here, farm challenging and heroic landmark bosses, open up these chests anytime you see them, and then, once you're done with the session and you've extracted your DZ resources, you're not done just yet. Don't forget that the DZ vendors got buffed with this season, so the DZ West vendor in particular offers an exotic components cache, and for just 120 DZ resources, this gives you 4 exotic components normally, but once again, under the benefits of the expertise surge event, that goes up to 8. 8. And so, yeah, that is the icing on top of this farm that is going to make it, again, I believe the best and most efficient exotic component source in the game. Play within the balanced DZ to take advantage of the PvP specific DZ chest drop increases the landmark boss chances, and then utilize the double currency yield that zone has in particular to come back to this vendor and capitalize even further. If you're not interested in PvP whatsoever, though, no worries, the toxic or PvE dark zone also has a good amount of efficiency to offer you, including some drop sources that are not available within the PvP dark zones. But firstly, I have to highlight these chests once again. While not having the 40% chance that the PvP DZs do, this has a 25% chance. Again, any of these chests in particular. Let's see if I now get lucky for one of these. We'll use a key on that. Still no. Not having good luck today, but 25% chance anytime you open one of those. And while landmark bosses do not share the same chance to drop exotic components within here, what the PvE Dark Zone has over that are hunters, and hunters within here at extractions drop guaranteed exotic components. So this guy just called one in. I think that means we'll get 2 hunters, maybe just 1. Looks like just the 1, but do keep in mind that the number of hunters that spawn in at these extractions is based on how many people are at the extraction site when you call the flare. We're shifting between an alert level 3 and 4 in this zone, so there are plenty of people within here. We're not all grouped up, but if you are able to find a large group to run with and consistently spawn 3-4 hunters, then during this event in particular, that's going to be a lot of exotic components. You'll see that they dropped 1 right there. I walk over it, that's another 2. So in some ways, the guaranteed nature of exotic components dropping from hunters could prove to be even more valuable than the PvP sources that we just covered, because if you time it right and everybody is sharing their stabilization agents to frequently call extractions, that could be really, really worthwhile. And just in case you haven't played this season yet and everything I just talked about involving the PvE Dark Zone sounds completely foreign to you, don't worry, we have a full guide for it here on the channel, which I'll link down in the description below. But you're not quite done on the PvE side, because even at a 1x gain on Dark Zone currency, you're still going to be racking that up as you farm the Toxic Dark Zone. And so, once you collect 120 in total, you can still come to this vendor and get the cash, which will net you 8 components, again, for the duration of this event. And that, truly, I think is going to be the backbone of these farms, because that is pretty hard to beat. Alright, now before we go, I had one last tip that I wanted to pass along, and that's that whether you plan to play within one of the PvP Dark Zones or the Toxic PvE DZ, do not forget your priority objectives, as these, per usual, can just help expedite your progress and rewards. So, especially if you are a PvE player and has never interacted with these, the PvP labeled objectives are typically going to be Dark Zone objectives. There's also a much more limited pool of what these can be, so it's a little bit easier to telegraph what they're going to be based on the amount of season XP reward they give. For example, this one is at 222, including both my modifier and season pass bonus. That means that it's either going to be a conflict objective, or it's going to tell me to complete a specific landmark in a Dark Zone. Let's decrypt it and see which it is. So, a DZ East activity, meaning if you're farming within the PvE Dark Zone, we could just get this done for free while we're doing that. The main benefit, of course, in the context of this video is if you can get a PvP objective that gives you an exotic reward. So 177 for that one. I believe that would tell me to go claim a supply drop. Let's see if we keep refreshing. Can we get a good one? Again, it's not being very cooperative today, but you get the idea. Even if this is not something that you can do for hours on end, because you're likely going to run out of objectives that suit the zone you're trying to farm, if you can get 1, 2, 3 of these that align with what you're doing and give you an exotic reward, that's just going to be even more doubled components on top of everything else that you're getting from this event. Well, there you have it, everybody. That is my rundown of this week's Expertise Surge event in the Division 2, and in combination with the exotic component drop changes made for this new season, how to make the most out of this ultimate exotic component farm. Really hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you found it informative. And yeah, I hope you're able to sink some time across this next week to really capitalize on this. Exotic components are the most frequent resource that I see people comment saying that they're fresh out of. So yeah, I hope you're able to score big this week. Let me know your thoughts on this video and everything that we went over. Do you plan on using one of the farms outlined in this video? Do you potentially have other exotic component drop sources that you think may be even more worthwhile during this event? Let me know all of it down below. I'll be very curious to hear your thoughts. That's going to do it for me today, though. Thank you all so much for coming by and watching, and until I see you next, RogueGold. Ow. Oh! We just got a Ravenous! I might not be friendly. Let's go.
Coming to the Division 2.
Let's go!
And